Hello from closing night at the Cannes Film Festival. We've had Tom Cruise, we've had a speech from the Ukrainian president, we even had a streaker on the red carpet. Behind us, the jury are revealing their top picks from this year's competition. 21 films are vying for glory from countries such as Italy, Korea, Iran, Russia, Romania, Poland. There are even 4 French directors in this year's competition. How many films have you seen, Lisa?
Oh, a mere 18 out of 21.
There have been some great films this year. What's your overall take on the Cannes Film Festival?
Well, you just mentioned all those countries, and it is every year a snapshot of where world cinema is at in terms of films that were available to be shown in this particular location in the jolly month of May. It's the 75th anniversary, as you said, and this remains the world's biggest, most important film festival and also film market. Over 12,000 people came to wheel and deal, to sell and buy films, in addition to another 20,000 or so of us who just came to watch the movies.
Well, the awards ceremony, as I said, is taking place in the building just behind me. Some of the prizes have already been announced, including Best Actress. That has gone to the Iranian star of Holy Spider from Ali Abbasi. Her name is Zara Amir Ebrahimi. Now, she plays a journalist trying to track down a serial killer in the Iranian city of Mashhad. Now, he kills sex workers because he thinks he is cleansing the streets of sinners. Now, this is inspired by a true story. It is a very powerful film. Here's the director saying how he thinks the actress is portraying a very important character.
The optimist in me thinks that the Iranian state would have a red carpet event for us in Tehran, and they were going to be super happy about this, and they're going to, probably give Zara a prize for the best actress. But the realist in me also knows that from the 10 items on the taboo list of Iranian state, we're on number 15. So that's where we stand.
Ali Abbasi talking about his star of Holy Spider, his film that's in this year's Cannes competition. Her name is Zara Amir Ebrahimi, and she's been named Best Actress at this year's Cannes Film Festival. Now, the next prize has been that's been announced is for Best Screenplay. Now, I interviewed the person who won this in the festival for his film Boy from Heaven a few days ago. Now, it's the Swedish Egyptian director Tariq Saleh. Now, he's been awarded Best Screenplay. He made his Cannes debut with this political thriller. It's set at a prestigious religious university in Cairo. Tell us more.
Well, the intersection of religion and power in certain countries cannot be overstated. And, we have elections, but in this particular setting, the people who are in power intend to remain in power. And so they want the head imam, who, like the U.S. Supreme Court, is, I guess, appointed for life, to be someone who will see the way the country is going the same way they would like to see it. And so in order to bring that about, they infiltrate the student body, and our protagonist is a very, very innocent young fisherman who really just wants to study the Quran and ends up in way over his head, way over several heads, I'd say.
It is a very interesting film and quite unique, something I've never seen before, this topic treated in a film here at the Cannes Film Festival. I spoke to the director earlier in the festival. I asked him if his daring film would be shown in Egypt.
بعد المغرب تطلع من نفق لذيذ ورهولك ومن هناك تاخد ميكروباص لوسط البلد. وبعدين تنزل المهندسين شارع جامعة الدول في كافيه هناك معروف قوي قابلني عنده.
I have a privilege. I have a Swedish passport, and I think it's my duty to be a free artist, and so I don't look at myself as a Swedish director. I don't look at myself as an American director or an Egyptian director. I see myself as a Korean director or a Mexican director, and I look up at these guys and I say, they tell the stories without holding back. They don't think about consequences. So why should I think about consequences?
Now that was Tariq Saleh, who has been awarded the Best Screenplay prize here at the Cannes Film Festival. Next, we're going to talk about the Best Actor. That too has been awarded. He starred in the Palme d'Or-winning Parasite that was here in 2019. Now this year, South Korean actor Song Kang-ho has been named Best Actor for his role in Broker from the Japanese director Hirokazu Koreeda. Now tell us about this film.
This is a film about the concept that if a woman carries a pregnancy to term but for whatever reason can't raise or doesn't want to raise the child, there are these little baby boxes, slots in the wall of a do-gooder institution like a church or a social center where you can just drop it off. In this case, a young woman shows up in the rain, puts a baby up for whatever's going to happen to it next with a little note saying she'll be back for it. But on the other side, there are two men, including the actor who just won Best Actor here in Cannes, who basically, the title of the film is Broker, have other ideas. They are in the business of selling babies because there are people who can't go through official adoption channels, and this way no one wants the baby, so why not try to give it a better life and make some money on the side?
Okay, well, it is a very interesting film. Let's take a look.
진짜 전화 안 받네. 울지.
아, 그 애 눈썹을 이렇게 해가지고 사진을 보내니까 그렇지. 여기 어때? 2천만 원.
시세의 2배라.
만나볼래?
어? 누구?
건물주인 것 같은데.
몇 살인데 여자가?
36.
왜? 더 젊었으면 좋겠어?
아니 그런 건 아니고.
排除されている、切り離されて生きてきたという人たちが、ほんの短い間。
I wanted to tell the story of people who have lived their lives separate from each other, but who get into the same car for a short time.
考えている、考えて。
In doing so, I also wanted to reclaim the idea of family as we perceive it, and show that they could do a good deed for a moment.
一瞬だけ手にすることで何か一つだけ。
That was the film Broker. Next we have another prize. It is the Jury Prize, and this has been shared between two films. One you like very much, one you don't like at all. EO, or the Donkey Film as everyone here calls it, and The Eight Mountains. Now everyone I've spoken to here at the film festival seems to love the EO or the Donkey Film from the Polish director Jerzy Skolimowski. It is very different, isn't it?
It is. I would say it gives us the world from the point of view of a donkey. So you could call it a brave new world. Actually, 6 donkeys were used in the making of the film, but the donkey continuity is extraordinary. This is actually an homage to a film by the French filmmaker Robert Bresson called Au hasard Balthazar from 1966, which shows a donkey who gets passed from person to person, situation to situation, and things don't turn out well. There's the law of unexpected consequences or unintentional consequences here, in that our donkey starts out very loved and appreciated in a traveling circus, but because there are animal rights activists who don't think animals should be quote-unquote exploited in circuses, he is taken away from the people who love him and care for him and sets out on an adventure through the fields and the landscapes of Poland, and there's something very, very real in his performance.
It is extremely fascinating to watch, and it's supposed to be a film about human kindness.
I would say so, and Jerzy Skolimowski turned 84 a few days ago, and I think in his lifetime as a Polish filmmaker who's worked in many countries and seen many of the major events of the 20th and 21st centuries, all that humanity comes out in this short, sweet, and yet also devastating film.
Well, it is his 6th film in competition. Let's take a look at EO.
Ho mangiato chili e chili di carne. Centinaia. Penso che una volta ho mangiato anche il salame. Quello vero, carne d'asino. Vuoi sapere di che sa? Sì.
Now that was a clip from the film EO that shares the jury prize this year at the 75th Cannes Film Festival with The Eight Mountains from Charlotte van der Merch and Felix van Groningen. You did not like this very much, Lisa.
It didn't send me, but they're a very talented husband and wife directing team. You may have seen The Broken Circle Breakdown, which was one of those movies that shouldn't work but absolutely did. And a lot of people were very touched by this, but for me, not necessarily for what was on screen, but for what they filled in from their own lives about knowing someone over several decades, not always staying in touch, but having a strong connection founded in childhood experiences.
Now, this is, of course, the 75th Cannes Film Festival, and because of that, a special prize has just been announced to mark this special year. It's been given to the Dardenne brothers for their brilliant film Tori and Lakita. They've already won the Palme d'Or twice here at the Cannes Film Festival, once for Rosetta in 1999 and The Child in 2005. This is their 9th film in competition. They are a hard pair to beat, aren't they?
Indeed, and they always shoot in their own sort of suburb of Brussels. They always address social problems. They always use extraordinary actors, many of them completely non-professional, first-timers, many of them seasoned, but playing people who have not had easy lives. And this story is super compelling. It's about a young woman and a young boy who are just trying to survive while their permission to stay in Belgium is stuck in the courts. And they work hard. They're good citizens without being citizens. You can tell that they're going to contribute everything they can for the rest of their lives if only they can get legal permission to stay there. But of course, every single deck is stacked against them and then some.
It is a very touching film from the Dardenne brothers. Let's have a look at Tori and Lakita.
C'est quoi ton code?
21,80.
Ça marche. Fiera dell'est, per 2 soldi, un topolino mio padre comprò. Alla fiera dell'est, per 2 soldi, un topolino mio padre comprò. E venne il gatto.
Cache-toi en dessous du lit.
So that was a very special prize for this year's 75th Cannes Film Festival anniversary. It went to the Dardenne brothers. But some of the highlights of this year aren't just in the competition. They include Baz Luhrmann's Elvis film and Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick. It's the sequel to his 1986 movie that shot him to international stardom. He was here. We were very excited. Let's find out some more.
Landing his helicopter on the red carpet, a grand entry that only one Hollywood actor could pull off. 36 years after his breakthrough role, Tom Cruise is back for the second installment of Top Gun. A long-awaited sequel which Cruise, now 60 years old, is confident will thrill and awe audiences once more.
I think the sense of romance, a sense of adventure, there's a world that you want to be in. Obviously, there's always something about aviation for an audience and for it to be depicted in that way, but the culture in this world is very unique.
The fast-paced, all-action sequel sees Cruise return as hotshot pilot Maverick, now an instructor for the Navy's elite Top Gun weapons school. And while it features its share of throwbacks and nostalgic moments, the movie largely centers around a group of young aspiring pilots. It's crammed with spectacular flight sequences, shunning CGI effects for the realism of cutting-edge IMAX photography. And as always, Tom Cruise performs his own stunts, all captured by 6 cameras placed inside the cockpit.
It is aggressive. You can't act that. The distortion in the face.
A Hollywood blockbuster with a soundtrack to match. Lady Gaga's Hold My Hand, a catchy and atmospheric power ballad, which hopes to channel the spirit of Top Gun's 1986 hit song, Take My Breath Away.
Did you enjoy Tom Cruise's new Top Gun?
Enormously. This is what we go to the movies for. This is what the big screen is for. This is what movie stars are for. It's a fabulously engaging story. It's touching. It's exciting. And personally, as someone who's worn glasses and contact lenses since I was 13, in terms of diversity and inclusion, I was thrilled that when they were choosing the people for the final mission, one of them wears glasses. I don't think you can be a fighter pilot if you wear glasses, but I championed that choice.
And on the night of the premiere, the planes were actually flying over the red carpet, weren't they? Well, the Best Director prize here at the Cannes Film Festival has just been announced to a Cannes Film Festival favourite, South Korea filmmaker Park Chan-wook, for his movie Decision to Leave. Now, this has been loved by many here at the Cannes Film Festival. It's about a detective who investigates a mysterious death. Take a look.
그렇게 말하지 말아요.
우리를 무슨 일이?
Right from the beginning, when I started preparing to make the film, I wanted to make a film for adults. Everyone said to me, oh, it's going to be really erotic, sexy film, and I thought, hard. That is what people expect when I say I want to make a film for adults. So I did the exact opposite.
There we go. Park Chan-wook has won the Best Director award here at the festival. Is it deserved?
I think he's an extraordinarily talented director, but I wouldn't necessarily have given him this prize for this movie. It's certainly well made. If you go by the decisions of the people who were on the critics grid for Screen International, the trade paper here in Europe, that should win the top prize, but now we know that it can't. It's certainly entertaining, and I believe it's been sold to 190 countries. So wherever you're watching us from, you'll probably have a chance to make up your own mind.
So if you're just joining us, the awards ceremony for the best films here at the 75th Cannes Film Festival is taking place just behind us. 21 films are up for the Palme d'Or. But as well as the competition here in Cannes, there are numerous sidebars. A film that has made history here, it's in a sidebar called Un certain regard, and it's called Joyland, and it's directed by Saim Sadiq. Now, it's the first Pakistani film ever to be shown here at the Cannes Film Festival. It's a daring story about a transgender dancer. We spoke to one of the main actresses, Sawat Galani.
पार्टीशन तो पहला दी साडी फैमिली इत्थे रह रही पैसे साडे कोल कदी नहीं पर इज्जत है ये जड़ा पैंचोद काम कीता ना ने मैं माजरत चाहता
I think, in comparison to other industries, film industries, Pakistan is a very small film industry. So for us to imagine having a selection at Cannes was quite an impossible place to be. When you dare to dream, it can take you places, and Saim Sadiq did dare to dream, and here we are.
Now that was the actress Sawat Galani speaking about her film Joyland, the first film from Pakistan ever to show here at the Cannes Film Festival. So she really was making history. And not only that, the film has won the Queer Palm and the second prize in the A Certain Regard section. So they must be extremely happy this evening. Now there's another section here at the Cannes Film Festival. It's called Cannes Classics. And Lisa, your highlight was shown there.
Absolutely true. The very first day of the festival. This is my 34th time here, and this is going with my top memories. The restored version of the 3-hour and 40-minute 1973 French film, The Mother and the Whore, La Maman et la Putain, which had its premiere here in Cannes. Two of the main actors of the trio at the heart of it are still alive, were present for the presentation. The phenomenal Françoise Lebrun, who said that the reaction then, the scandal, half of the auditorium was applauding, half of the auditorium was booing, and people haven't stopped talking about it since because it was very, very hard to see. The work of Jean Eustache has finally been restored. It will be coming out in France very soon, and it's the story of one man who is torn between two women, and it was shot documentary style in the cafes, streets, and stores of Paris in 1972. So it's a time capsule of the way things look, the way people dress, but it is really about human emotions, and it seems as if it's improvised, but every single sentence was written down to the last comma, and it's a film that 49 years later absolutely holds up. I don't know how many of the movies that are winning prizes tonight will be able to say that about.
I have to say, I was not in the cinema, as Lisa was at the beginning of the festival, but I too was touched because she arrived in our offices with tears in her eyes because she was so moved by watching that film again. Let's take a look.
Oh, mais ne me touchez pas, vous l'avez.
Mais vous êtes ridicule.
Je me fous du ridicule. Moi, j'ai traîné dans les rues toute la nuit, j'espérais vous rencontrer. Si je vous avais vu, je vous aurais dit « je vous aime ». Je vous l'aurais dit devant cette fille, devant tout le monde, n'importe où. Je vous aurais dit « je vous aime ». Arrêtez ce cirque, vous allez nous foutre en l'air. Et j'imaginais que vous auriez tout laissé tomber et que nous serions partis ensemble.
Bien. Je vais me laver.
Je pense qu'on était très, très contents.
I think we were very, very happy to create something so radical and different.
Qui n'était pas conventionnel, quoi.
It was a time when French society was just becoming less conservative, so to be honest, we were super proud.
On était un peu triomphants.
There we go, that was Lisa's highlight at the Cannes Film Festival this year. Now we have another prize that has just been announced. It is the Grand Prix. It's officially second place, isn't it, the Grand Prix?
Pretty much, yeah.
It has been shared between two films, Close and Stars at Noon. Now, Close, I have to say, is one of my favourite films this year. It's directed by 31-year-old Belgian director Lukas Dhont. This is the story of a very intense friendship between two young teenage boys. I cried for an hour in the cinema. I felt affected by it for the rest of the day. What did you think?
It's extremely touching. The two young men could not be better. It made me feel as if I didn't spend enough of my childhood running through fields of flowers in a European country, because there's these wonderful shots of just the sheer joy of being alive. But when these two young men go to a new school and start getting verbally bullied, implying that their friendship is too close and may even be sexual, that friendship starts to fray around the edges, and that's sad to see.
It is quite a painful watch, and at times maybe a little bit melodramatic.
A tad. It's an important topic. Just like Eight Mountains, which also won a prize. It's the idea of men who believe they are brothers, although they were not born into the same family, and that's an extremely powerful thing, any sort of relationship where you feel you've met the right person to spend time with, and then social circumstances keep you apart.
It's been a bit of a theme this year, hasn't it? Like bromance, also nostalgia.
The
Italian
yeah,
film.
You could say that. Themes tend to be accidental. I think there are also at least 3 movies where people end up vomiting, and about 4 where they end up blindfolded, but that's completely coincidental.
2 with a donkey as
and
well.
2 with a donkey, exactly.
Okay, well, we can hear from the director of Close, Lukas Dhont, on his inspiration for the film.
Ils sont derrière, cours!
Ah, voilà toi.
Je vais dormir chez Rémi ce soir. Tu vas venir chez nous un jour? Peut-être.
Mais c'est super gentil ça, on va venir d'un peu grand frère maintenant. C'est bon. Viens travailler un jour.
Jeune, j'étais très solitaire. Toutes les personnes qui essayaient de devenir proches de moi, je Je ne leur laissais pas d'une certaine manière. J'ai eu beaucoup peur des amitiés avec des autres garçons. Et donc j'avais envie de montrer une amitié entre deux garçons qui, dans mon opinion, est rare de voir.
Now, the film you just saw there, Close, shares the Grand Prix, or the second prize here at the Cannes Film Festival, with another film which is called Stars at Noon. I haven't met many people who like this film. It's directed by the French filmmaker Claire Denis and is set during Nicaragua's revolution of 1984. Tell us some more about it.
Well, Claire Denis is what we call a class act. She has been making films for well over 30 years. Her first one, Chocolat, showed here, in fact, in 1988. She got her start as an assistant to German director Wim Wenders. And this would be a good time to mention that France, fully 25% of the directors in any given year are women, and not just women who make one or two movies, but like Claire Denis, who are very prolific. And in accepting her award, she admonished people to go to movie theaters. Do not watch movies on your computer or, God forbid, an even smaller device than that. Baz Luhrmann said the same thing. Go see Elvis in a movie theater. I cannot imagine seeing Top Gun Maverick in any setting except a movie theater, communally with other people. I say this all the time, but now Claire Denis backs me up, and she's an award-winning filmmaker.
Okay, well, let's have a look at her award-winning film, Stars at Noon.
I don't understand what kind of deal you think is being offered to you.
I think you're offering to screw me.
Well, that is definitely the one thing that I'm not offering to do.
Excuse me. Is that polite enough for you?
What were you going to do? How were you going to cross the border? By waving the American flag? Huh?
That was Claire Denis talking about her film that she's won the Grand Prix for. Another thing that has been very exciting this year, as well as Tom Cruise, has been the Elvis film. There was lots of excitement about that on the red carpet, lots of Elvis music playing every night because this one film was playing over the last 2 weeks. Was it good?
It was astonishingly entertaining from the very beginning. I think everyone can picture the Warner Brothers logo. Well, in this film, it was encrusted with rhinestones. And Baz Luhrmann has done all sorts of musical work that he has a real understanding of music. This is told from the point of view of Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who was
played by Tom Hanks.
Played by Tom Hanks in a fat suit with prosthetics. I actually thought that was an interesting way to approach the story. We are given a sense of what a nice man Elvis was, and in addition to his talent. And I think if we look at Tom Cruise in real life and Elvis in real life, these are two extraordinary American success stories. Young men who came from absolutely unprivileged backgrounds, who with just talent, hard work, and a little bit of luck became planetary icons. Elvis apparently had doubts that he would even be remembered. And of course, the soundtrack that Elvis gave us is beyond exceptional.
Well, that film did rock the Cannes Film Festival. Let's find out some more.
Elvis's shadow looming large over Cannes, the signature jewelry and sunglasses, the towering pompadour. Wherever the king goes, his lookalikes follow, and his legend endures.
He finished every show completely drenched. He was a showman.
Everyone remembers his hip thrust. He was a handsome man, also a bad boy.
He still inspires even today, I think, yeah?
He's the king. He earned that name.
At first, he was just a man. But when he got on stage, his energy and his scandalous pelvic gyrations brought his young audience to their knees. Women lost their minds, conservatives too. In Baz Luhrmann's movie, Elvis is the one who sent American Puritans into a state of shock.
I'm really interested in America in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And, you know, he was at the center of pop culture. So he's kind of a canvas, you know, to paint a picture of those times.
The biopic sweeps us up into a constant whirlwind of high-voltage shows, backed by a street-smart manager the king built himself over a 25-year career and a legacy beyond it.
His music and his looks fused together. I believe it was the first time that someone invented himself in such a way.
It's no one ever come hold me.
And even 45 years after his death, that's why we can't help falling in love with Elvis.
Well, Elvis was one of the films playing here at the 75th anniversary of the Cannes Film Festival. It did originally start in 1939, but that wasn't its first proper year, was it?
No, because on the second day of the festival, Germany invaded Poland and they had to call it off. So it started in 1939, and yet this is only the 75th edition because it took a while for it to get back on its feet. And of course, after the war to end all wars, after World War II, nobody thought that we would see war in Europe again, and it's been a little peculiar to be in this bubble of elegance and artistry when they're not that far away. Of course, people are suffering over the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
And it did start in 1939, and it has sort of carried on with this political message every year. It does have political under and overtones. This year, the Ukrainian president actually was in the opening ceremony, wasn't he?
And not only was in the opening ceremony, but he is himself a professional performer, and he wrote himself a really hard-hitting, magnificent speech urging everyone to go and see Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator. Charlie Chaplin made that because he noticed that his character, the little tramp, had that same little mustache as Adolf Hitler without having any idea just how far Hitler would go. And the end of that film is an absolutely rousing speech about peace and humanity that the entire world should be familiar with.
Now, the time has come, Lisa. The big moment they were all waiting for, the top prize, or the Golden Palm, has just been announced, and it goes to the Swedish director Ruben Östlund for his film Triangle of Sadness. I sat down with him earlier in the festival and he explained the title.
Can you relax your triangle of sadness? That's like between your eyebrows here.
Okay.
A little bit more. Okay. And open your mouth so you look a little bit more available. Okay, not that much, a little bit less.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Next, please.
Well, the title actually comes from a term in plastic surgery that is like that you have a wrinkle in between your eyebrows here. And in Sweden, it's called trouble wrinkle. So you have had a lot of trouble in your life, and that's why you get this wrinkle. But don't worry, you can fix it with Botox in 15 minutes. And I thought it was like a funny contradiction, and like to fix your surface and then feel better inside. And maybe it's true, I don't know, but it was like it's sort of kind of dark humor in it that I like.
There we go. The Triangle of Sadness by the Swedish director Ruben Östlund has been given the top prize at this year's Cannes Film Festival for his film Triangle of Sadness. Now, he won the Palme d'Or actually not that long ago with The Square in 2017. Does he deserve the honour again?
This wouldn't have been my top choice, but it is certainly an entertaining film talking about the world we live in. It starts out by making fun of male models and the fact that one of our protagonists at, 24 or 25 is already sort of washed up, although he's done a lot of main campaigns because everyone's obsessed with empty-headed youthfulness. And it's about a couple of models who get freebies for being beautiful and empty-headed. And so they end up on a cruise where things go terribly wrong, and the tables are turned when it turns out that members of the crew who actually have survival skills are in a position to make life a little more difficult for people who are used to parlaying their good looks into privilege.
And I think there is possibly the worst vomiting scene I've ever seen in my life. Did you enjoy that?
I've had food poisoning a few times in my life, and I believe that that was extremely authentic. It got the idea across, and in fact, what he is portraying is vomitous. The fact that we are putting up with influencers when we all have brains and we could use them for a little more than that length of time. So he's attacking the right things, and I'm not going to say it's the most original film that ever existed, but he does what he set out to do.
And it does feel a little bit like the Cannes Film Festival with all the yachts and everything, doesn't it?
Yes, it was interesting to walk out of the darkened theater and look out at pleasure craft, very similar to the one that goes aground in that very film.
There you go. That's the end of our coverage here at the Cannes Film Festival. A reminder that the top prize has gone to the Swedish director Ruben Östlund for his film The Triangle of Sadness. Now, a big thank you to everyone who's been working with us behind the scenes here for over the last 2 weeks to bring you our daily shows and coverage and interviews and lives from this balcony. You might only see us on the screen, but there are about 25 people just standing right behind the camera there. So a big thank you to them for making this possible. And thanks for your company. We'll see you back in Paris next week.